Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Change Your Perspective, Change Your Awareness, Change Your Life. I'm Dr. Michelina, here to talk about a new series today. We just did leadership, and we talked about leading to live. And now we're gonna talk about choosing life. Okay, I'm gonna give us an overview, and then we're going to have a small series on, and by small I mean 9 or 10 videos, as I tend to do, because there's always more to talk about, guys. We're going to talk about choosing life and why it's so important and what it means. Now, you can't probably see my little board back here, but this is like my kind of life's work. Okay, I'm always dealing with things of what does it mean to exist? Why are we here? And when we are talking about choosing life or choosing death, what does that actually mean? Now, I just talked a little bit about this in the academy. I teach Seasons in Science Academy with my colleagues who also teach there, and I talked a lot about this in mindset to some degree. And so the real depth of this content is there, but I do want to overview it here. And so what does it look like to choose life? So there are 7 ways that we choose life. Now, this is a Dr. Michelina theory. There are people who say there are 5. There are people who say 3. My memoir, the book I'm writing right now, is actually, it outlines almost 9. But 7, I think, are kind of fundamental to everybody. And then the other 2, whomsoever will. And so when you are thinking about what it looks like to choose life, you have to know what it means to be choosing, and you have to know what it is to be talking about life. And so choice is our accountability. We decide, we get to choose. We are not in victim mindset, we are in victor mindset. We are empowered to make our own decisions. And so right away, I can tell you that a vast majority of people aren't choosing anything for themselves because they think that they cannot. Okay, they're victims of circumstance. And we have a society that breeds victimhood and victim mentality. If you want to hear more about victim mentality, jump back on my other series where I talked about mentalities. I think it's purple. Okay, so when we are looking at choosing life, we first have to look at choice and what it means to choose. And that is an active... My cat has just been crying all day, guys. I've tried to record this 5 times and she's just gonna cry. So I can't not record it for you guys because she's crying. So I apologize. So she's fine, by the way. She's crying for no reason other than she wants my attention and me to run after her. That's all she wants. So no, we don't neglect her. Don't worry. So anyway, so going back to choosing life. Choosing is our intentional movement toward a thing. I'm defining it specifically like that because it's the intentionality component that matters. People tend to not be intentional. They tend to be unintentional, unconscious, going with the flow without realizing it. They're not being active participants in their life. They're kind of just meandering along. Now, that is not really choosing. That is not active. That is a sort of passive default going down the river of life. And so when it comes to active choosing, it's more than just like, you'll see people who are like, oh, I chose to go to college. Did you? Or did your parents force you into college? Did you want to go? Or did you know that you had to go? Right? Like, this is the thing. I chose this job. True. But did you choose to work, or do you know you have to work? Right? We see these things that we think are choices. They're not actually choices. They're just what we are having to do, right? And so why so many people are unhappy is because they're not actively choosing, yes, I want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. They're inactively choosing it, and then they're shocked at the consequences of it, right? That's what happens more often than not, is that we get very surprised by the consequences of our actions because we're like, which, by the way, guys, I'm not telling you anything that didn't, pertain and doesn't pertain to who I used to be and how I used to do things. I can talk about this now because I've progressed past the place where I used to do it. And I'm here to talk to you about it so you can do the same. Less painfully, I hope. So choosing is an active thing. that we have somehow made very passive. Life is a multifaceted thing of which we understand very, very little. Okay, so I say there's 7 ways to choose life. You've heard me say this before. You will hear me say it all the time. It's like the axiom on which my teaching rests. And it's this: physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, financially, intellectually, and spiritually. Those are the ways in which we can grow. Okay, those are the ways in which we can grow. Now, we're going to talk about all of those this week and into next week, because every single one of those is a very multifaceted, complex, very involved process and topic, right? Physicality alone, there's so much we can talk about and learn about there. And so when we think about choosing life and what it means to choose life and what it means to be an active participant in our lives, we have to look at the places where we are not being active, and also the places where we are avoiding dealing with things. Now, I can already tell you a good 9 out of 10 people avoid their emotions. Okay, so I can already tell you that you're probably hiding in your emotional life. And this is why I say all the time, we have people who are physically, like let's say 40, their physical body is 40. Emotionally, they're parked at the point of some pain in their youth, let's say 8. If that was a sexual trauma, they're also sexually parked at being 8 years old, assuming they haven't done any of the work to get through it. Mentally, they're probably dysregulated, so maybe 15, 16, 20, right? We get to this place where we park at the point of the things that were hard for us as kids, most often, or teenagers, and then we are adults functioning out of that place. Now, this is not really new in the self-help, personal development, self-wellness community. Lots of people know that. The old kind of theory, belief, practice was rub some dirt on it, right? And so guess what? When you rub some dirt on it and you don't pay attention to it, you just shove it down. It doesn't go away. We're not that good. We are emotional creatures. And so, and men too, don't think that they're not. Men feel and think very, very deeply, despite what people may or may not, villainize them as. And so when it comes down to it, the reason why we have so many dismissive avoidant attachments, or so many insecure attachments, or so many, fearful avoidant, anxious preoccupied, if you've done any of that kind of relationship attachment style work, you know what I'm talking about. It's because we emotionally choose death. And what is it to choose death? It is to stagnate. It is to avoid. It is to not grow. It is very fixed. It is to disempower and keep you small. Those are the things that are death energy, not pain energy. Pain is part of life, okay? That is the life energy. Destruction, part of life. Chaos, part of life. There's movement in chaos. Wherever you have movement, you have growth. So that's a life energy. Wherever you have no movement, you have death, and that is a death energy, right? And so when there's no movement, in your finances, let's say, you've made the same money and paid the same bills for the last 3 years. That's a death energy now in your finances. Your financial energy space is death. And that is because your financial mindset is probably death. You don't have a new mindset on your finances, so therefore your finances are what they are. And so when it comes to actively choosing life in your life, you kind of realize oh man, there are so many things I can be doing differently because I am the person in control of my life. Now again, we get to that place when we become accountable, when we become adults, when we become people who are actually in control of their life. From 0 to 16, 18, 22, 25 in this society, you're not accountable. Your parents are accountable for you, right? And so we've got parents who are accountable for themselves and for their children who aren't healed or haven't grown or haven't educated themselves, right? And so this is obviously, again, why we built a school, because they don't teach you these things. And then when you start to learn about them, there's no one-stop shop for it, right? We have to, like, when I was going through all of this, I went to this therapist and this coach and this therapist and that coach and this mentor and that consultant and this, that, and the other. I literally spent tens of thousands of dollars on people helping me to grow, when I would have loved just one spot that had it all. A school, if you will, for personal wellness and development. Now they're starting to build those, it's going to become very popular because a lot of us are reparenting ourselves. We're like, oh damn, something in my life is amiss. Oh, it's me. Why? How? And so if that is something that you're interested in, you're ready to start making bigger changes on, you want to be accountable in different ways, I highly suggest joining Seasons in Science Academy. Me, 5 of my colleagues teach there, mind, body, spirit, and leadership. And so the nice thing about the school is that when you go through it as a client, if you find that there's something you want to coach, that's in you to coach, there's always the option of partnering and pairing with the school on the other side, right? So that's one of the benefits of potentially joining the school, outside of all the personal and professional development that you get in the school. And of course, it is a curriculum for the school of you. You are the one. So everything I share with you here, right, is an alluding fact to some of the work that you get with me and my colleagues, because there is not really a lot of places that are like, hey, show up and be yourself. And by the way, is that really you, or is that a trauma response you're calling you, right? And so this is why it's so hard for us to choose life or to choose death. We don't realize we're choosing death. Because what ends up happening is, if we're not actively growing, we're not actively working, we're not learning, we're not healing, we are naturally moving away from life, and then we're sliding into death zone. I'll give you a very, very good example of what it sounds like to have a death energy mentality, and it is this. I'm too old to do that. Death energy. That's a death energy mentality. Oh, I don't have enough money to do that. Death energy mentality. I wish I was smart enough to do that. Death energy mentality. Right? We say these things, they are death energy mentalities. You're choosing death in the mind, in the mental place, and it's playing out in your life. And you're wondering why you're not happy and your life is miserable. It's because you do not want to take the steps, the sometimes radical steps, to shift into a life energy perspective. So we're going to talk about it, because we're here to change your perspective, change your awareness, and change your life, right? That's what we're here for. And so that takes both input, learning new things, and output, doing new things, okay? And so we're going to talk about these things over the next couple of weeks, or week and a half, or 2 weeks. And this is like the nexus on which all of my work rests, of course. So if you're interested in this as a concept, you may want to work with me more closely one-on-one, because this kind of a thing is what I guide my clients through. Who are you? What do you want? How can we get you it? Where are you going? Why aren't you there yet? All of those kind of things. It's a 12-week course. So if you are interested in making further investments into yourself outside of just the free resources that of course we offer, then by all means, drop a comment below. Check out the link in the bio, seasonsinscienceacademy.co.mn. And if you're not ready yet, that's completely okay. Keep inputting, keep getting aware, super important. And we will start talking about choosing life and why that is super important for you to have the life that you dream and that you desire, right? So if you like what we were talking about here, continue to help us grow the channel. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, comment below. Always doing new series, so if there's anything that you're interested in, drop that. I can, do the best I can with my own knowledge base on it. Some things I am, some things I'm not. So like, I don't do relationships and dating. That's not my forte. I'm very much a self coach, but doesn't mean you can't drop it, and we'll see what we can do with it. But yes, so I will see you all on the next video.